Kia ora everyone, welcome to our live Q&A session, A Labour Room of Love. I'm so excited that you've been able to join me. Welcome to all our live viewers, and welcome to those of you who will be viewing it post-live, post the time that we're sharing together. First of all, I actually really want to honour those of you who are tuning in today who have done all of the things that we're going to talk about today, and your birth has still deviated from a normal pathway. I want to honour you and bless you and say thank you for tuning up. I hope that you'll find the information that we share today empowering for your next birth, or that it will help you work with the clients that you're currently partnering with. So thank you for tuning in. I'm Rosemary. I'm the director of the Birthing Room, and I have over 15 years nursing experience, and also I've trained as a childbirth educator and a doula with Birthworks International. Now, while I was working as a nurse, I actually did some postgraduate training in continence, in how to go to the toilet. And we're going to be using that information today to actually talk about birth, because the two things are quite similar. So as weird as that sounds, some of those handy little extra bits I did as a nurse are going to come in handy today. Now, before we crack on, I want to know, can you hear me okay? And can you see me okay? So if you're a YouTube subscriber, you should be able to pop something in the comment section. Give me a thumbs up or a smiley face if you can hear and see me okay. Otherwise, I can adjust some things there as well. And give us a shout out so we know who's tuning in today. So I would like to start today. Oh, awesome. Thanks, guys. That's great to know. Thank you. I would like to start today by sharing a little bit about my own birth, because it's kind of tricky to talk about other people's birth because of privacy, but I can share all about my births, and I give myself full permission to do so. So that's great. I would like to share a little bit about the birth of our firstborn, and that was 11 years ago. Now, when my beautiful baby was born, I was working as a nurse in the hospital, and I was fully immersed in the medical model of health. I worked it, I lived it, I breathed it. It was all I saw every day. And so that is how we approached our birth, from a medical model of health. We designed our birth team around that. We chose where to give birth based on that. And how I saw birth panning out was fully from my life experience as a medical person. And so when our baby decided to come, he was 10 days post his due date, which we thought was terribly overdue. And we'd already been in for our induction appointment, but luckily he decided to come on his own. And as some of you will know from reading my previous blog posts, he was actually in a little bit of a funky position. And so labour was really slow to kick off. And we had sort of this 2 days of stop, start labour. And it was really tough and really tiring. But we got there in the end, and labour seemed to be kicking off, and it was going well. We were at home labouring together, Daniel and I, and contractions were 5 minutes apart. And that's sort of the standard measure that you're told by LMCs. That's when you go to the hospital. So we were quite excited. And so we rang our midwife and said, hey, we'll meet you at the hospital. Labour's now underway. All things are going well. And we drove in the car, and actually it's quite funny because Daniel was sort of doing a bit of a panic, and he's driving really fast down the road and almost wanting to run the red lights. And I'm having to say, hey, just slow down. Baby won't be born in the car. It's okay. And the funny part was that labour actually started to slow down on that drive. And when we got to the hospital, we walked in and we greeted the receptionist and were shown to our room, and then she just left us to it. And sort of no one came in for a wee while. And the room was really bright, and it was really big, and it was really sterile, like it was just a standard hospital room. And labour completely stopped. And I turned around and I looked at Daniel and I said, I actually don't know how to birth this baby. I just had no idea what to do. And labour had stopped. So after a long time, labour got sort of back into the swing of things, but we never got there. It never progressed, and we ended up with an emergency cesarean section. And so some of you will be able to identify with that. Some of you tuning in today are like, yes, that happened to me. that change of the environment that affects your birth and made it stop. We're going to be talking about why that happens today and what you can do to prevent that, so that you can learn from my story and that doesn't have to be your story. I believe that every birth needs 5 things to facilitate natural birth. Now, when I say natural birth, it may not be the same kind of natural birth that you find on the internet. I was looking up YouTube yesterday, natural birth, and pretty much the top 10 hits were something I would not class as natural birth. It was things being done to a mama. Every single video, mama had an IV line in her hand. She was dressed in institutionalized clothing. She was in positions that she would never choose to do herself. They were all things being done to her. So by natural birth, I mean letting your body do its own thing, being able to give birth to your baby instinctively without the assistance or intervention of a team. And yes, sometimes those things are needed. Definitely, even in our own experience with our other children, sometimes we need a little bit of help, and that's okay. And that situation should be a less common thing. It should be more common for women to just be able to birth their babies, because we are a mammal, and same with all other mammals. Sometimes they need a little bit of help, yes, but for the most part, they get on fine. So 5 things. Number 1, I believe that the birth environment should be set up for the birth hormones. Now, the birth hormones are an incredibly complex cocktail of love hormones. And so complex that I'm not going to go too far in depth, otherwise I could spend 2 hours just talking to you about birth hormones today. But essentially, these hormones impact on both the beginning of labor, the initiation, and the continuation of labor. They help with uterine contractions, so the tightening and releasing of your uterus, and the behavior of the mother. Now, artificial oxytocin is something that you might have heard about that's given to a mother to induce labor or to help labor progress if it's not getting on very far by itself. That artificial oxytocin, it doesn't impact the behavior of mama. It only creates uterine contractions. Natural birth hormones are so powerful that they actually impact everyone in the birth space. Now, this is a little bit weird, but if LMCs, if midwives attend a lot of births and they've never had children of their own, they have been known to begin lactating, to actually produce breast milk. The hormones are so powerful that the mother is producing that they actually go out of her nose and are spread around the birth team. Now, that's designed so that mama and dad have a really amazing connection in that birth and that they bond with that beautiful little baby. Birth hormones are powerful. So some of those hormonal cocktail, you've got oxytocin. Oxytocin is the love hormone. It's the hormone that helps your uterus contract, and it brings feelings of love. Beta endorphins, those are your natural pain relief. Woohoo! Natural pain relief for labor. That means that when you get a really strong contraction, then your body will produce a massive surge of endorphins, and that will help you cope with the next contraction. So as labor shifts and intensifies, those beta endorphins are growing and growing, helping you deal with each phase of labor. And then there's prolactin. That comes at the end of labor, and it's responsible for breastfeeding and is sometimes called the mothering hormone. Now, birth hormones are not just nice extras. They have serious impact on both the health of mama and the baby. So let's set up your birth in a way that produces those love hormones. If you do that, you'll see that labor progresses, that dilation is smooth and effective, that the feeling of pain is balanced by your endorphins. The intervention will be less likely, as will cesarean section, because your labor is just progressing. And also there's a less need for pain relief. Now, if your birth is set up in a way that creates fear, you're going to have an opposite hormonal response. You'll see adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol being produced. That means that you'll get a longer labor, an exhausted mum and dad, reduced blood supply to baby, because your body doesn't actually consider the placenta an essential organ for fight-flight, so it takes the blood away from that. and that means that baby could be more distressed. You could also expect to see reduced contractions and lower APGAR scores. The APGAR is a test that your LMC will do in the first 10 minutes of your baby's life to see how your baby's going. A low score isn't great. You'll see more intervention and more cesarean sections being done. So the birth environment can either help mama produce the love hormones, or it can stop their production and cause those fear hormones to be produced. Now, I have a story to share with you of someone very dear to me. She actually was going into labour when the first Christchurch earthquake struck. She was standing in her hallway, labouring beautifully. Things were really intense. They were going really well. And then the earthquake struck, and boom, her labour just stopped. In fact, it stopped for so long that she didn't actually give birth till 3 p.m. the next day. So it stopped for many hours, and she spent the morning walking around her neighbourhood looking at the destruction. It wasn't until her body felt safe again that those birth hormones kicked in and she was able to birth her baby. But your body doesn't distinguish between a massive earthquake and a change of the environment. Her story is also my story. When I got to the hospital, everything stopped. Your body said, hey, I don't feel comfortable, I don't feel safe here. I'm shutting down for a bit. We don't want that to happen to you. So make sure that your birth environment is set up to support the birth hormones. That's number one. Number two, birth environment is set up for the brain. Now remember that you can ask questions at any time through this, so feel free to pop any in the comments box if you have any. There is two parts of mama's brain that can help or hinder in birth. The first part, the neocortex, mama's thinking brain. It's stimulated by bright lights, direct questions like, can you write your email address in here, please? A cold room, lack of privacy, and fear. And when mama is in her thinking brain during birth, it means that the part of her that instinctively knows how to birth her baby has quietened down. So her analytical brain is really alive and firing. We don't want that to happen. She's lost her ability to instinctively know how to birth her baby. And that's what happened to me. We want mama to be in her reptilian brain, her lizard brain, her primal brain, the part of her that instinctively knows how to birth her baby. So this can be activated by quietness, dim lighting, privacy, love, feeling safe, and a warm room. Now, when I was training to be a nurse, I actually worked for a little bit with in a daycare facility for adults that had things like autism. And one of the features of that building was that it had this amazing room, and I just loved to be in there. The walls were painted black, it had blackout curtains, and it had just amazing little lights, like fairy lights in there, and it had this amazing fish tank that was sort of had little bubbles floating up and neon fish swimming around in it, little fake fish. It was such a peaceful place. And the adults that were in that daycare facility could choose to go in there if they needed a lower stimulus environment. So if their analytical brain was firing and firing and firing and actually causing them to be upset, they could choose to go in there to quieten down their analytical brain. It made you feel so calm and at peace in this room. Birth is the same. We want the analytical brain to be quietened down so that mama can access her primal brain so that she knows instinctively how to birth her baby. Write in the comments box if you're with me so far. Hopefully this is all making sense. Number 3, birth environment is set up for your beautiful bottom. So I know that sounds totally weird, but this is where the continence training comes in handy. So part of what I learned while doing these extra papers was the reason that so many people get constipated when they're admitted to hospital. It's a huge problem. You just can't poop in a 4-bedded room. That's the bottom line, literally. Very, very difficult. Awesome, thanks guys. It is so tricky, even in a public toilet. Like guys, you probably have no problem with this, pooping in a public loo. Girls, you can't do it. And that is because your anal sphincter is shy. Your anal sphincter needs privacy and feeling safe to be able to open and relax to let the poop out. And although the cervix is not a sphincter, it behaves the same. So it needs that feeling of privacy and uninterruption to relax and dilate. Now, the other thing that I learned was that some positions alter the natural ability of your body. So some positions help and some positions hinder. Now, in many cultures in the world, to go to the toilet, they squat. And what that does is actually opens up something called the angle of Louis in your stomach, in your bowel. And that allows the whole bowel motion to flow through smoothly. And all you need to do to pass that is just breathe. No effort required. Excuse me. However, we have these amazing things called toilets that we like to sit on. And they actually hinder the natural position of your body to pass a bowel movement. They make your knees lower than your hips, and then the angle of Louis can't open the same. So you need to do a lot of effort to pass a bowel movement. So just by altering the position of your toileting, it can make it a lot easier. So in birth, it's the opposite positioning. By having your knees lower than your hips, that really opens up the space of your pelvis so that your baby can pass through easily. And so if we can get the environment and the positioning right, a lot of mamas will be able to just breathe their baby down and out, or maybe with some guttural instinctive pushing movements, but it won't require a conscious instructive pushing of like push and count to 3, then push again. You won't need to be told how to do that because your body would take over and know how to do that naturally. So yeah, just the same as continence, positions can really help. Birth, changing your position and the environment can make a huge difference. Now, just like birth is related to going to the toilet, it's also related to sex. The same things that helped your baby get into your tummy are the same things that are going to help your baby be born. So I'd love you for a minute to imagine setting up an intimate occasion with your partner. You might have candles like I've set up on the table here, the curtains pulled. You might have some amazing music in the background that's lovely, quiet and peaceful. You're going to say nice things to each other. You're going to be intimate and kissing and touching and really affectionate to each other to sort of build the mood and atmosphere. Those are the same things that your birth environment needs, because the hormonal cocktail for sex is the same as the hormonal cocktail for birth. So if you can set up your birth environment as though you're going to have an intimate occasion, you're already halfway there. Imagine for a minute trying to have sex under scrutiny. So people are coming in and out of your intimate space. People are saying to you things like, gee, you've been going for half an hour now and we haven't seen much progress. I think I might just stand here and observe for a bit what's going on. Like, imagine trying to have an orgasm under that kind of pressure. That is the same for sex. If people are interrupting your intimate space and coming in and asking you direct questions, observing you, giving you a time limit, it is tough. It is going to be hard to relax, feel private, and to let your baby be born. So set up your birth at the same for sex and the same for the birth environment. Same things that you're going to need for both. Do not be afraid of being intimate together. In fact, if your waters are still intact, having sex is a great way to kick off labor really well. Or passionately kissing and touching will really kick off things if things have slowed down a bit. Every birth needs a feeling of privacy, of safety, and of being unobserved. Same for sex, same for birth. Privacy, feeling safe, feeling unobserved. So that was number 2. Set up your birth space. Number 3, set up your birth space for your beautiful bottom. Number 4, the birth environment is set up for both partners. Now, a lot of dads accidentally end up being at their birth and being an observer, so not being an active participant. However, dads do best at birth if they've given specific roles. Things like setting up candles, setting up the birth space for active birth, Checking for privacy. Dads, be the guard dog of that space. Do not let any unwelcome visitors in. Offer mama food and drink. Offer her massage, help her with positioning, stand behind her and support her, or allow her to kneel and lean onto your lap, those sort of things. Be the DJ, set up the music. Again, the kind of music that she might want might be different in that moment, and it's going to change as labour goes along and progresses, depending on the intensity of labour. So check in with her and get her to recommend some songs. Dads, you can cover the clock. So you can see the clock behind me. If mama can see numbers like that, that actually stimulates that thinking brain, that neocortex. So covering up the clocks is a great idea because then mama loses the ability to take control of the time and can just get in the zone. Dads, hang up pictures. Maybe stick some pictures of your scan photos so mama can remember why she's doing this. Maybe hang up lovely birth affirmations that might have been created for mama at her baby shower. Claim the space, make it your own. Dads can give encouragement. Be specific, dads. None of this, good on you, mum, you're doing great. I want to hear things like, wow, that contraction was so intense. Well, I really see how it brought baby down. You say things like, you are so strong. I know that you've got this. Be really specific with your encouragement. Pray with mama. Birth is incredibly spiritual. Do low, deep breaths together. That sort of breathing is diaphragmatic, and it helps produce oxytocin, which is the love hormone that is responsible for uterine contractions. So if mama's starting to do more, that kind of breathing stimulates those fear hormones. We want the breathe with mama, do it with her. Dads, make sure that you're affectionate. Kiss mama in between contractions. I think if you try this when there's a contraction happening, you may get a bit of a slap. So wait for in between contractions, be affectionate, kiss mama. That will help get those sex hormones going. Dads, make sure that you've got food and drink for yourself, because often mama's really well taken care of in labour, but people kind of forget about dad. And if you're going to last the distance, you're going to need to nourish your body. Ask a doula to be at your birth. A doula can support mama so that dad can step out of the room, take 5, get some fresh air, get a drink, go to the toilet, just regather his thoughts even, so that when he's in the birth space, he's fully present. Remember, if dad is calm and confident, then so will mum be. I'd love to share with you a little bit of a birth story about an amazing birth I went to. And this birth has stuck out in my mind for a long time because it was just extraordinary. Now, I was never meant to be at this birth. In fact, the couple rang me on the day and said, hey, we're not coping very well. We're really not enjoying labour. It's really painful and I'm feeling really distressed. Will you please come? So I said, sure, I will. I'd love to. And I turned up there, and I think it was like early evening. It was just starting to get dark. And the midwife was there. And she had just done a check with mum, and she said, look, you're not even in labour yet. It's only sort of the build up to labour. I'm going to go home. I'll come back later on when things have really kicked off. And so she left. And so I looked around and thought, oh, what can I do in this space? How can I make a difference? Mum's really upset. She's been crying. They're both, mum and dad, feeling really distressed. And so I look around and all the lights are on. So, okay, that's something I can do. I went around the house and I hunted out a lamp and I turned it on, made sure all the curtains were pulled, and I turned off all the lights. And then I said to mama, hey, let's get you off the couch, get you upright. With every contraction, all I want you to do is to relax your body and make it as soft as possible. So the stronger the contraction, the more relaxed your body. So, okay, we can do that. So, do you have a wet sack? Yep, we do. So I popped it in the microwave, and all I did was to stand there, change the environment, and then heat up this wet sack, and it would be hot. I'd throw it to dad. He'd hold it on mum's back and massage her legs and just whisper encouragement to her. It would get cold, contraction finishes, throw it back, put it in the microwave, throw it back to dad, next contraction comes, and so on. And we went like this for a little bit of time, and the whole atmosphere in the room changed. It was suddenly incredibly quiet. There was no more distress. Mama was fully in the zone. You could just see her melting with each contraction and just really been able to sink into it. It was amazing. Well, very soon, Mama decided that she needed an even more intimate space, and she popped off to the toilet. And so she was in there, dark, private and alone, with Dad just standing outside of the door. And all I did was continue just to heat up the wet sack, throw it down the hallway. Dad would pass it to Mum, and she'd pop it on her back. And really soon, labour was sounding really, really different. I thought, wow, we really sound like we're at the end of labour. But just less than an hour ago, labour hadn't really officially started. But we're sounding like the end. So Dad rang up the midwife and said, hey, we're going to pop down to the birthing unit, which they did. And big ups to these guys. They managed to keep the beautiful environment going in the car. And when they got to the birthing unit, we quickly set it up for them there as well, so that it was dark, private and quiet. And they only had who they wanted in that space. And Mama just continued to labour beautifully. And Mama was at the end of her labour. Baby was born shortly afterwards. It was just amazing. So just by coming in and tweaking a couple of those things and helping that couple find their intimate place of being affectionate to one another, of dimming down those lights, just changing little things, it changed the whole outcome of their birth. So Mama went from not even officially in labour to being fully dilated in 1 hour. It was amazing. And I always knew this Mama could do it, but the environment just needed a little bit of a tweak. So setting up the birth environment for both partners. Number 5, birth environment is set up for the birth of your placenta. Did you know that the highest peak of oxytocin is not actually when your baby's being born? It's actually when the placenta is being birthed. And a lot of people miss out on that peak oxytocin hit of their life because the placenta has been artificially induced after the birth. So your placenta needs the same environment to be born as your baby does. It's the same. So keeping that dark, intimate and quiet space and warm room, that needs to be kept all the way until after your placenta has been born. That will really help things and also decreases your risk of hemorrhage. By keeping mum and baby together also, and skin to skin and attempting breastfeeding, that helps your body release oxytocin, which makes the birth of the placenta safer and gives you that massive hit of oxytocin, helping you bond with your baby and with your partner. Any questions so far, guys? So a summary of those 5 things. We've got number 1, setting up your birth for the birth hormones. Number 2, setting up the birth environment for your brain. Number 3 was setting up the birth environment for your beautiful bottom. Number 4, setting up the birth environment for both partners. And number 5, setting up the birth environment for the birth of your placenta. So how are we going to put that all into practice? How to get your mind in the zone and get those hormones flowing? Well, firstly, choose a location to birth your baby where you feel very safe. During your pregnancy, I encourage you to go and visit all of the places that you're considering. Obviously, I'm a big fan of online programs because we run one, but watching an online tour of a birthing unit isn't enough. I want you to go and see them for yourself because I want you to take a notepad and a pen and walk around that place and write down everything that brings you feelings of comfort and safety. Look at what's around the room, what's set up in there, what's the furnishings like, what is the smell like, were the staff friendly or were they in a lot of a hurry? What was the feeling that you got from that place? Write it down in your notebook and then compare all of your different places that you've seen, including your home. That's also an option. Which place gave you the most feeling of comfort and safety? Because it's likely that that's where your body will be able to let down its guard and to relax and to best birth your baby. Even better if you don't have to change locations during your birth, so you can avoid what happened to me in my birth story of the birth hormones getting interrupted by changing the environment. Wherever you're going to be for your birth, take control of the space. It is your space. I don't care if 25 babies have been born there in the last 2 days. Right now, you own that space It is yours. So you are allowed to change the furniture around. You can bring in things from your home and claim that space as your own. You can change the pictures on the wall. This is your sacred space to birth your baby. So totally claim it. I would even encourage you to hang a sign on the door just to remind people that, hey, this is our space. This is the birth of Matt and Amy. Please enter respectfully. Just that little reminder on the door can help people take a step back. Oh yeah, this is a sacred space. I'm going to enter really quietly. I'd also encourage you to bring your own cushions or your birth mat. We've got a fabulous video on YouTube on how to make an eco-friendly birth mat, so check it out. You can use it at home or you can take it to a birthing unit. Bring a little bit of you into your space. Choose a place that you can dim down the lights. If you're going somewhere for your birth, you can even take fake candles. Or use real candles, pull the curtains, keep the lighting really low. Quietness. Avoid asking mama direct questions. You can do instead like holding a glass of water in front of mama and saying, water? If she wants a drink, she's going to take it. Avoid asking things like, do you want a drink of water? Do you want to hop in the shower now? That just stimulates that neocortex brain. Let's keep that quiet. So the primal brain, the reptilian brain, is active. Just offer things without asking a question. Ensure that the birth room is really warm. And remember that needs to continue when the placenta's been born. Kick out people who are not needed. If it's not an essential person or not someone that's bringing you in feelings of empowerment and safety, they don't need to be there. Ask them to leave and they can come back once the placenta has been birthed. If the room seems too big, as it did in our case, create a small haven. In that birth story, their mama did an amazing job of that by labouring in the toilet. You can do that, or to go into the bathroom or the shower or a birth pool, or even moving the furniture so that you've got sort of couches or the bed set up in a way that sort of you create a little birth haven behind that. That is your space. Again, create a cave that you can crawl into to birth your baby. Have the birth stations all set up so that mama can just go between different activities without having to be asked, do you want to use the Swiss ball now? Do you want to go in the shower? Just have those things set up so she can just move around different labour stations as she feels able to. That way she'll really stay in the zone. If you have any questions, fire them in the comments box. Otherwise, just the last couple of things. I would love to give you guys a free cheat sheet on everything we've talked about today. So I'm going to pop a link to that in the comments box so you can jump online and grab one for yourself. I'd love to bless you guys with that as well. And also just to let you know that we've got 2 more days for online antenatal class enrollments. So if you've loved the information that we've talked about here today, we have so much of this and more in the Birthing Room's online antenatal classes. It's filled with videos, quizzes, fun PDFs, fun activities to do with your family and friends to help you have an empowering, positive birth experience. And it doesn't matter if you're planning a home birth, a birthing unit, a birth, or a hospital birth. We definitely have something for you in those courses. So just to bless you guys, because I think that you're awesome, I'm going to say that every one of you that is viewing this today can have 20% off our premium package. The premium package includes all 5 courses that we have, and for 20% off today as well. And you get live Q&As just like this every month. You're going to get access to our Facebook support group so you can ask any question that you like. And you'll also be able to have coffee groups in your areas really soon. We've got those almost up and running now. So I'm going to again put a link in the comments box so that you can jump online and check it out for yourself and get a 20% discount. So thank you so much, guys, for taking the time out of your day to spend with me. I hope that you found this information empowering and helpful for your upcoming birth. See you all next time.